来读 Chap2 of the Phantom Tollbooth 魔幻收费站，我还蛮喜欢这个翻译的。在开始之前，我先讲我为什么喜欢这本书哈。第二个原因，因为从这边开始，你们就会发现他会用各种方式，把很好的 vocabulary 想办法来教小朋友们。所以这本书是充满了一定要学的单字跟生字。You will see what I mean when we get there. Okay. Beyond expectations 就是超过你的预期哈。那么，而且这一段都是双重意义的，因为你们会发现他们去拜访了一个地方叫做 expectations. Suddenly, he found himself speeding along an unfamiliar country highway, and as he looked back over his shoulder, neither the toll booth, nor his room, nor even a house was anywhere in sight. What had started as make-believe was now very real. 刚刚就讲到，对不对？他就开车就付了钱，然后就继续往前开。可是，一开过这个收费站，就突然之间就是真实的情景了。Make-believe 就是幻想的。What started out as make， 因为我们小时候都会假装我们在开飞机啊，假装我们在干嘛呀？ And what started out as make-believe was now very real. What a strange thing to have happened, he thought, just as you must be thinking right now. This game is much more serious than I thought. For here I am, riding on a road I have never seen, going to a place I've never heard of, and all because of a toll booth which came from nowhere. I am certainly glad that it's a nice day for a trip, he concluded hopefully. For at the moment, this was the one thing he definitely knew. The sun sparkled, the sky was clear, and all the colors he saw seemed to be richer and brighter than he could ever remember. The flowers shone as if they had been cleaned and polished, and the tall trees that lined the road shimmered in silvery green. 在闪闪发亮啊。Welcome to expectations, said a carefully lettered sign on a small house at the side of the road. Information, predictions, and advice cheerfully offered. Park here and blow horn. 欢迎你到期望来。任何讯息，还有预知未来，或者是很好的建议，都是 cheerfully offered。停在这里，然后按那个吹那个 horn。With the first sound from the horn, a little man in a long coat came rushing from the house, speaking as fast as he could and repeating everything several times. 哦，就是这个人吗？ My, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the land of expectations, to the land of expectations, to the land of expectations. We don't get many travelers these days. We certainly don't get many travelers these days. Now, what can I do for you? I am the weatherman. Is this the right road for Dictionopolis? Asked Milo, a little bowled over by the effusive greeting. Bowled over， 你知道打保龄球吗？就是被打翻了，就是这个人就是有点不好意思了，因为这个人的 greetings， 他的打招呼实在是太热情了。Effusive 就是热情或者是丰盛到都好像从杯子里面流出来一样。Well now, he began again. I don't know of any wrong roads to Dictionopolis, so if this road goes to Dictionopolis at all, it must be the right road. And if it doesn't, it must be the right road to somewhere else. Because there are no wrong roads to anywhere. Do you think it will rain? I thought you were the weatherman, said Milo, very confused. Oh no, said the little man. I am the weatherman, not the weatherman. For after all, it's more important to know whether there will be weather than what the weather will be. And with that, he released a dozen balloons that sailed off into the sky. Must see which way the wind is blowing, he said, chuckling over his little jokes and watching them disappear in all directions. What kind of a place is expectations? Inquired Milo. 就是询问 inquired. Unable to see the humor and feeling very doubtful of the little man's sanity. 他就怀疑这个人是不是根本是不是疯了，这个人是不是正常的啊 ？Doubtful， 怀疑。Good question, he exclaimed. 我在这边画了一个惊叹号，那个时候我好像在教小朋友。Exclamation point 就是惊叹号 ，exclaim 就是很兴奋，的表达，就是很压抑的表达。Expectations is the place you must always go to before you get to where you're going. Of course, some people never go beyond expectations, but my job is to hurry them along, whether they like it or not. Now, what else can I do for you? And before Milo could reply, he rushed into the house and reappeared a moment later with a new coat and an umbrella. 我不知道你们刚刚有没有发现啊，这边又是那个双重意思的句子来了哈。你可能先要期望什么事情发生，然后他们才会发生。Expectations is the place you must always go to before you get to where you're going. And some people never go beyond expectations. 所以这个里面有一点点很可爱的双重的意思在里面。I think I can find my own way, said Milo, not at all sure that he could. But since he didn't understand the little man at all, he decided that he might as well move on, at least until he met someone whose sentences didn't always sound as if they would make as much sense backwards as forwards. Splendid, 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 exclaimed the weatherman. Whether or not you find your own way, you're bound to find some way. If you happen to find my way, please return it, as it was lost years ago. I imagine by now it's quite rusty. You did say it was going to rain, didn't you? And with that, he opened the umbrella and looked up nervously. I am glad you made your own decision. I do so hate to make up my own mind about anything, whether it's good or bad. 刚刚没有对准。Whether it's good or bad, up or down, in or out, rain or shine. Expect everything, I always say, and the unexpected never happens. Now, please drive carefully. Goodbye, 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 good. And his last goodbye was drowned out by an enormous clap of thunder. And as Milo drove down the road in the bright sunshine, he could see the weatherman standing in the middle of a fierce cloudburst that seemed to be raining only on him. 所以呢，这个神经兮兮的、紧张兮兮的这个 weatherman， 就是头上有一顶一朵黑云，只在他头上下雨。The road dipped now into a broad green valley and stretched toward the horizon. The little car bounced along with very little effort, and Milo had hardly to touch the accelerator to go as fast as he wanted. He was glad to be on his way again. It's all very well to spend time in expectations, he thought, But talking to that strange man all day would certainly get me nowhere. He is the most peculiar person I have ever met, continued Milo, unaware of how many peculiar people he would shortly encounter. 他就说这个人是他碰到最奇怪的人，但是他一点都不知道 unaware of 马上就有更奇怪的人，更多奇怪的人，他马上就要碰到了 encounter. As he drove along the peaceful highway, he soon fell to daydreaming and paid less and less attention to where he was going. In a short time, he wasn't paying any attention at all, and that is why at a fork in the road, 就是岔路 fork in the road, when a sign pointed to the left, Milo went to the right. 走错路了。Along a route which looked suspiciously like the wrong way. 他走错路了，而且这个路看起来就是错的路。Things began to change as soon as he left the main highway. The sky became quite gray, and, along with it, the whole countryside seemed to lose its color and assume the same monotonous tone. Everything was quiet, and even the air hung heavily. The birds sang only gray songs, and the road wound back and forth in an endless series of climbing curves. 他一旦走错路了，这个风景马上就变了，马上就变得越来越灰，颜色也都慢慢不见了，都变成这个 monotonous。monotonous 就是同样的平淡的，就是一个音调都是平的，什么都没有变化。Everything was quiet， 然后空气好像也变重了，而且鸟呢只唱灰色的歌。And the road wound back and forth， 就是来来回回的一直左转右转，左转右转 ，in an endless series of climbing curves， 而且他们还一直在往上爬。Mile after mile after mile after mile he drove, and now, gradually, the car went slower and slower until it was hardly moving at all. It looks as though I am getting nowhere, yawned Milo, 打哈欠了。Becoming very drowsy and dull. Drowsy 就是很想睡觉，很困。I hope I haven't taken a wrong turn. Mile after mile after mile after mile, and then everything became grayer and more monotonous. Finally, the car just stopped altogether, and, hard as he tried, it wouldn't budge another inch. Budge 就是移动一点点，放弃一点点，让一点点，所以他就一点点他都不让了，连一寸都不愿意让了。I wonder where I am, said Milo, in a very worried tone. 这个 chapter 很长，如果我没有记错的话，我现在读了这么多，我应该把下半段等一下念完。我读到这里。I wonder where I am, said Milo, in a very worried voice, in a very worried tone. You are in the doldrums, wailed a voice that sounded far away. Doldrums 就是很单调、无聊、枯燥、无聊，根本就没有生气。这个地方又被它用来做一个地名。You are in the doldrums， 而且当我们就是英文，当我们很无聊、很没有生气，陷入一个困境，陷入单调，就是这么用的。You are in the doldrums, wailed a voice that sounded far away. He looked around quickly to see who had spoken. No one was there, and it was as quiet and still as one could imagine. Yes, the doldrums, yawned another voice, but still he saw no one. 对啊，你就在枯燥单调里面，有一个打哈欠的声音说 What are the doldrums? He cried loudly. 他就叫得很大声，受不了了，可能有点害怕吧。 and tried very hard to see who would answer this time. The doldrums, my young friend, are where nothing ever happens and nothing ever changes. This time, the voice came from so close that Milo jumped with surprise, for sitting on his right shoulder, 坐在他的右边肩膀上 so lightly that he hardly noticed, was a small creature exactly the color of his shirt. 坐在他右边的肩膀上有一只小动物，跟他的衣服的颜色一模一样，又轻，他根本就没看见他，吓得他半死。Allow me to introduce all of us, the creature went on. We are the RWAJJ030. 我上一次有教这个 Aiden lethargic 就是很没有生气的，很懒的，很累的，很没有生气的，所以他就把这个字一变，就变成了这个地方的人名 RWAJJ030. We are the RWAJJ030 at your service. 在这边为你服务了。Milo looked around and, for the first time, noticed dozens of them. 一个 dozen 就是一打，就是12个 ，dozen 就是至少有好几十个。Sitting on a car, standing on the road. 对不起，我在对准啊。Sitting on a car, standing on the road, and lying all over the trees and bushes. They were very difficult to see, because whatever they happened to be sitting on or near was exactly the color they happened to be. 我再读一次这句话 They were very difficult to see, because whatever they happened to be sitting on or near was exactly the color they happened to be. 不管他们坐在什么地方，或者是站在它附近，它们的颜色总是跟那个东西的颜色一样，所以它根本是非常不容易被看到。Each one looked very much like the other, except for the color, of course, and some looked even more like each other than they did like themselves. 这个就是我刚刚跟你说的，这个就是有点文字游戏。他们有时候看起来更像对方，胜过像他们自己，对不对？ OK， 那么我们分成两段，这个是 Chapter 2的前半段。OK， 马上读第二段。